So, folks, what did I wake up to today? Screaming headlines in all newspapers. Times of India. Pawar versus Pawar 2. Ajit joins Shinde, BJP government, and the big news is government in big blow to national opposition unity. Underline that, right? And at the same time, there's a small article which is where everybody's worry should be. 3 shot, 1 beheaded in Manipur night raid. Now think about this, right? Manipur's burning. And all we are worried about is what's happening in Maharashtra, the headlines. What was this headline management for? Besides Manipur, taking Manipur off there, but it couldn't because of this incident, was the big rally which turned into a rally in Telangana for Rahul Gandhi. Over 5.5 lakh people, and you should have seen them screaming. And today's newspaper, not one of them even has that as a news item. Forget a little bits of nothing, none. So this was all about that. So this government's only concern is opposition unity, because you think about it, it has to be only that, right? For 2 things. One, they saw what was happening on the 23rd, and then the meeting was again going to happen. It's going to still continue to happen on the 12th or the 13th of July in Bangalore. But it scared them because it's 67-33, 63-37, right? And all the reports that were ground reports that were coming out of Maharashtra was suggesting that in Lok Sabha, BJP as it stood today with Shinde, who after breaking Shiv Sena, these guys found is just a huddy in their throat because it's not being able to swallow. He's not, what they really wanted was to break the Shiv Sena on the ground. That's not happened. That stays with Uddhav Thackeray. They've only got 40 MLAs, and then what? When they go into next election, then what? Because the next elections are saying that Shinde, not one of these guys who's turned court is going to win, including Shinde. And secondly, what they're saying is that even in the Vidhan Sabha seats, it will be surprising if the BJP goes above 50. So what's next? They go after the NC. And the strangest part is they get Ajit Pawar. You've been seeing this build-up between all the Ajit Pawar statement. Well, he's an ambitious, corrupt, ambitious guy, kind of guy, right? Was just yesterday in a bhashan, the Prime Minister, I think in Shahdol in Madhya Pradesh, was beating his chest and suggesting that, and naming Ajit Pawar, connecting him to a 67, 8,000 or 70,000 crores, he just adds zero at will. Crores Sichai scam in irrigation scam in Maharashtra, and was saying that he's going to send everybody in jail. Now, look at the kind of washing that happened. And suddenly the same guys who have all the ED on their side, right? On them are now ministers. And now look at what's happening. The biggest problem now, how do I call it? I think this is another nail in the coffin of the BJP, because now there is no BJP, right? You have Fadnavis who's in trouble, you have Shinde who's in trouble, and now you have Ajit Pawar. You got 3 engines, not 3 engines, 3 engines pulling in different directions. It's bound to be, right? And what about Chhagan Bhujbal, who is a totally Baba Ambedkar everywhere else? How will Nagpur swallow Godse and Nagpur swallow that? I don't understand. I mean, Chhagan Bhujbal. And at the same time, Manipur burning. And this puts me back again to the time when the lockdown happened. We waited a good 10 days, didn't announce anything. Why? Because the Madhya Pradesh government had to change. Okay. So then what do we see here? Ajit Pawar, Bhujbal among 5 NCP stalwarts under ED lens. Now that's the real reason, right? Ajit move not a conundrum, but politically smart, says legal experts. Now, is it all about legality, legal experts, and then you have this? I don't know. Suddenly, Shinde at head of an unwieldy coalition. Reality. Ajit's entry fogs prospects of Sena, BHP. So what's the BJP hopeful? They are only going to check. They're going to have to figure out Ajit Pawar. Now, Ajit Pawar's kad in the Maratha belt is down to zero, because now this fight's going to be about Maratha pride. They're already hurting, right, under the stress of agricultural stress. The rains have not been good at all, right? 2 of their biggest projects have been taken away to Gujarat. This is going to be payback time, right? Sidelined in party, Ajit's game plan to take on Uncle was in works for a year. So you think that Pawar didn't know about it? I don't think so. End of road for Sharad Pawar, or a new trick up his sleeve? Better believe me, he's got a new trick up his sleeve. And then what do we have this? Sharad Pawar swipe at PM, he alleged corruption, now welcomed it. That's true. Just the day before, he named Ajit Pawar and a 70,000 or 7,000 crore scam, and now he's the deputy chief minister. Go figure, right? Key was this: BJP's next plan, thwart opposition challenge in other states too. So DMK has to worry, RJD has to worry, Mamta has to worry, and JDU has to worry. Sonia, Mamta, Dayal Pawar, opposition slams BJP its washing machine. 4 of 9 MLAs skin in graft dock. What will ED agencies go now? And now the other thing that was happening a day before is the other headline management and how it happened, right? Rahul Gandhi again got a brilliant reception in Manipur, strong man, went to the camps, and finally we all know what's happening there. Today I saw a YouTube of NCC cadets and a retired lieutenant colonel sitting in dharna, and the lieutenant colonel is crying. He says, why is the PM not saying even a word? It's an interesting question, right? So Biren, and then because of Rahul's visit, Biren had to do this poorly scripted resignation drama. I mean, we saw through it, everybody saw that video and saw how his resignation letter was given to this woman, the woman tore it up, then they stuck it all together to show it to the people. Biren remains CM after 6-hour resignation drama. DU at 100 PM recalls his Vidyarthi. So this was it. So Rahul was in the camp amongst hundreds of people, and PM's big picture that's doing the round is this lonely man sitting in the Delhi metro. How in the yellow line, how many people he inconvenienced, I don't know. And then Rajnath, this is what they're going to be up to. Rajnath targets Pak. India no longer weak. We can kill on other side of border. Why? There's nothing happening in Pakistan. Rajnath Singh, tell us about China, please. Please don't keep going after Pakistan. No fake promises. PM targets Congress in Madhya Pradesh. The biggest fake promise obviously was the 15 lakh in your accounts. If you can swallow that, you can swallow anything. Jumla, as he said. Are you from Myanmar? CM Biren's official handle engage in Twitter spam. Divisive. Uttarakhand draft civil code to be submitted to government soon. Another Jumla, the UCC, believe me, is eventually going to hurt the tribals, the Muslims, and the Christians. He says, India needs UCC, but it can't be rushed through as Swanomics, right? It will mean reforming Hindu laws too, not just Muslim and Christian personal law. For instance, Hindus currently have the right to form Hindu and undivided families as a separate legal and tax entity, something without parallel in Islam or Christianity. This right has been used historically to evade thousands of crores of taxes and deny women equal property rights, and must be reformed by UCC, folks. Then what do we have here? At Rajasthan rally, Shah raps Gehlot over Taylor beheading. A beheading just happened in Manipur. Who's going to talk about that, right? And what we should be worried about is this: mapping distress. Labor force survey data underlines continuing strain in labor market, lack of job creation in non-agri sectors. However, data on work demand by households under Manrega indicates that the stress in the labor market remains higher than in pre-COVID times. What these numbers also reflects is the failure of the economy in not being able to create enough non-agricultural jobs to absorb both those shifting out of agriculture and millions entering the labor force each year. Worryingly, even the jobs that are being created to be largely informal in nature. Then, as she writes, in India, a diminished economic future. Employment trends, the shock to informal sector, and persistently high demand for welfare presents an alarming picture. Don't get misled by revenue numbers and corporate profits, and folks, the stock market. Don't get fooled by that. Presently published data on key indicators of the Indian economy are a sobering reminder of the diminishing economic future that most Indians confront, and the stubborn refusal, indeed abdication, by our policy makers to craft an appropriate policy response. Employment-intensive growth needs state investment in human capital, in markets, in enabling regulation. But first and above all, the government needs to acknowledge the deep structural crisis that it is staring at, and they refuse to because it's a suit boot ki sarkar, lack of understanding at the top, I don't know, right? And the same lady writes, the structural constraints that hinder reform in India. The 2023 Economic Survey, in a section describing the centre's support to state for capital expenditure, has a table recording progress on the funds allocated to states under the scheme for special assistance to states for capital investment. The 50-year interest-free loan announced in 2022-23 budget and continued in budget 24. The table has largely gone unnoticed. However, the data illustrates an enduring tension in the dynamics of center-state relations and constraints policy reform. This is where the major problem is, right? She says, but there is the rub. In our federal system, the center is dependent on states to play ball, and both the center and states are well aware that reforms need consensus, not carrots and sticks based financing. Consequently, monies allocated by the center to reforms are often trivial. They account for 20% of the total, are often trivial. It is almost as though by design, reform incentives are meant to create the chimera of policy progress for the center to make grand announcements and seek political credit, even though all stakeholders are aware that the process is designed to fail. So when you don't have the center state jugalbandi, as you're seeing everywhere, where the unelected government is the governor, you're going to have problems with reforms. Reforms are just not going to happen unless you get the states on board. Carrots and sticks just ain't going to do it, folks. 3 cheers, Jai Hind. But please, again, focus on Manipur. We've got to get things right there. 3 cheers, Jai Hind.